Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. Pamela waited until after dinner. The plates were still on the table, the TV off, the silence too heavy to ignore. She folded her hands, glanced at me, then stared at the salt shaker like it had the answers. "Eric," she said, voice low, "I need to be honest with you about something." I leaned back in my chair. "Go ahead." She took a breath that sounded rehearsed. "I like you. I care about you, but—" She hesitated, searching for words. "I'm not in love with you." I didn't flinch. I just nodded once. "Thanks for telling me." Her eyes flicked up, surprised. "That's it? You're not upset? Upset about honesty?" "No," I said. "Do you want to separate?" "No," she said quickly. "No, nothing like that. I still want us to live together. We're good roommates, good partners. I just didn't want to keep pretending I felt something I didn't." I tilted my head. "Are you saying you want a break? Or are you seeing someone else?" Her eyes widened. "No, Eric, nothing like that. I don't feel the romantic side anymore. I thought it was only fair you knew." I let the silence stretch. Then I said, "All right, thanks for the clarification." She gave a small, relieved smile. "I was so nervous to say it. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought you'd take it harder." I stood up, carried my dish to the sink. "I appreciate the honesty, Pamela." She followed me with her eyes, like she was waiting for a fight that never came. But there wasn't going to be one. She told me where she stood. All I had to do was believe her. That night, I lay awake in the guest room for the first time in years, staring at the ceiling. Her words replayed again and again, flat and simple. "I like you, but I'm not in love with you." And my answer had been just as simple. The next morning I changed my routine. No coffee waiting for her on the counter, no kiss on the way out, no quick text during my commute. Just a nod as I left, like I would to any roommate. At work, I canceled the flower subscription I'd been running for almost 2 years. $12 a week for someone who only liked me was wasted money. I also shut down the streaming accounts tied to my card. By the time I got home, the expense sheet was taped to the fridge. Rent, utilities, groceries, split evenly down the middle. Pamela was standing in the kitchen when I walked in, holding the paper. "What's this?" "Budget," I said. "Makes sense if we're splitting things evenly now." Her forehead creased. "Eric, we're still together. I just said I wasn't in love. That doesn't mean we're roommates." I set my keys down. "That's exactly what it means. You said you like me, not love me. So I'm adjusting." She shook her head. "You're twisting my words." "No," I said calmly. "I'm living by them." That night, I moved my things into the spare room. Desk on one wall, bed against the other. By midnight, it looked less like a guest room and more like my own space. Pamela came in, arms crossed. "So this is how it's going to be?" she asked. I leaned back in the chair. "We agreed. You wanted honesty. You have it. I'm not going to act like a husband when you've made it clear you don't see me that way." Her jaw worked, but no words came. She turned and left, closing the door behind her harder than necessary. Over the next couple of days, the changes sank in. No morning texts, no calls to ask what she wanted for dinner, no planning trips or weekends. When she tried to cuddle on the couch, I slid to the armchair. When she suggested a Friday movie night, I said I'd be busy catching up on work. The lines were drawn. She'd asked for no love, and I'd given her exactly that. By Thursday, Pamela started fighting the silence. She made my favorite dish, roast chicken with garlic butter, and set the table for two like nothing had changed. When she slid the plate in front of me, I said, "Thanks. How much was the chicken?" "I'll send you my half." Her fork froze in her hand. "Are you serious right now? You said we're not in love. That means we share the costs." She exhaled sharply. "Eric, couples do nice things for each other without keeping score." I looked at her evenly. "Couples? Yes." Then I started eating. The next evening, she waved 2 concert tickets at me when I came home. "Surprise! Front row." I checked the date. "That's Saturday. I've got plans with my friend Noah." "You'd rather go out with Noah than me?" I shrugged. He didn't tell me he wasn't in love with me. The silence after that one was thick enough to choke on. On Sunday, she tried the direct approach. After dinner, she leaned close on the couch, brushed her hand over my arm. "Eric, Maybe we should stop being so distant. I stood up and gathered the plates. I'm not interested in being intimate with someone who only likes me. The next evening, Alicia stopped by. Pamela must have called her. Over dinner, Alicia tried to ease the tension. Maybe Pamela was just overwhelmed. People's feelings shift, you know? I cut a piece of steak. Would you date a man who told you flat out he wasn't in love with you? Her fork paused halfway to her mouth. She didn't answer. Pamela shot her a glare, but Alicia kept quiet. I leaned back. Exactly. Monday evening, I sat down at the desk in my new room and opened my spreadsheet. 3 months of dinners, weekend trips, and shows. All the "I'll transfer you later" that never happened. By the time I finished tallying, her half came to just over $1,600. I sent the Venmo request with a note, "Roommates split things evenly." 10 minutes later, Pamela stormed into my room. "Eric, what the hell is this?" I swiveled in my chair. "You're half of the things we did. I never pushed before because I thought we were in love. But you said we're not. So now we split." Her face flushed. "Those were dates. Gifts. That's what husbands do." I shook my head. "That's what partners in love do. You made it clear we're not that." She stood there, fists tight at her sides, but had no comeback. 2 days later, she tried a new angle. She had a corporate dinner coming up. Spouses were invited. It was one of those image things. She came to me in the kitchen. "I need you to come with me Friday," she said. "That's a couples event. I won't pretend." Her voice sharpened. "It's important for my job. People expect us to show up together. Then tell them the truth. We're not in love. We're just sharing a place." Her mouth opened, closed. For once, no words. The fallout hit her fast. At work, colleagues asked why she came alone. She told me later over dinner that people looked at her differently, like she'd lost something. I only nodded. By Thursday, the apartment felt like a pressure cooker. Pamela walked around restless, trying to act normal, then snapping at small things. She slammed a cabinet when I asked her to add her part of the grocery bill. She sighed loudly when I moved laundry from the dryer. Every action I took was calm, deliberate. She'd drawn the line. All I'd done was believe her. By the weekend, Pamela shifted tactics. She started telling her version of the story to our circle of friends. How I had changed overnight, how I was withdrawing affection, and being controlling with money. My phone buzzed with side messages. "What's going on? Are you two okay?" I didn't argue. I waited. Then I dropped 2 screenshots. The first was the expense sheet, her share of the bills neatly listed. The second was the Venmo request I'd sent. No commentary, no emojis, just facts. Finally, Noah typed, "So she told you she's not in love but still wants the perks of being married? That doesn't add up." People asked, "Did she really say that?" Pamela fired back, "It's not that simple, Noah." But the silence that followed said otherwise. No commentary, no emojis, just facts. Later that night, Pamela confronted me in the living room. "You humiliated me. Now everyone thinks I'm the villain." I closed the book I was reading. I didn't add any commentary. I just showed what you said and what I did. People made up their own minds. Her voice rose. "You're cold, Eric. Ice cold." I kept my tone even. "No, Pamela. I'm consistent. You wanted honesty, and I'm living by it." She stormed off to the bedroom. The door slammed, rattling the frame. But for the first time, I noticed something different. Her story wasn't working anymore. She'd tried to paint me as the villain, but all I'd done was match her words with actions. Friends were starting to see the pattern. The control she thought she had was slipping away, and she knew it. The following week, Pamela's energy swung like a pendulum. On Monday, she went for sweetness. She cooked a 3-course dinner, opened a bottle of wine, and even dressed in that black outfit she knew I liked. Halfway through the meal, she leaned across the table. "Eric, can't we just forget all this tension? We're good together." I set down my fork. "We're good as roommates." "That's what you said you wanted." Her smile faltered. "That's not what I meant." I didn't argue. I just cleared my plate and loaded the dishwasher. By Wednesday, the sweetness was gone. She followed me around the apartment, voice sharp. "You're punishing me. You're making me pay for being honest." I turned to face her. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just giving what you asked for." She slammed the door to our old bedroom so hard that a picture frame fell from the wall. Friday, she tried bargaining. She sat beside me on the couch, softer now. "Maybe we could go to counseling. Or start fresh. I'll do the work if you just give us another chance." I shook my head. "I don't need therapy to know I deserve a wife who loves me. You made it clear you're not that." Tears welled in her eyes, but I stayed steady. The breaking point came on Sunday. She knocked on my office door, voice brittle. "My car's overdue for service. The mechanic quoted me $1,800. Can you help cover it until next month?" I leaned back in my chair. "That's a partner's responsibility." Her face fell. "So you're just going to watch me struggle?" "I'd suggest a payment plan. Or ask Alicia. Or your parents. But I'm not covering that for a roommate." Her lips trembled. She turned and left without another word. That night, I heard drawers opening, boxes shifting. For the first time, Pamela was packing. Not all of her things, but enough that the air in the apartment felt lighter. The message was clear. She was running out of plays. By Tuesday evening, half of Pamela's clothes were gone from the closet. A few boxes sat stacked near the door, taped but unlabeled. I came home from work to find her sitting at the kitchen table, the same place she'd started all this. She looked tired, eyes rimmed red. "Eric, can we talk one last time?" I sat across from her, hands folded. "Go ahead." She took a shaky breath. "When I said I wasn't in love with you, it wasn't the whole truth. I wanted to see how you'd react. I read this article that said relationships need brutal honesty, that if you tell your partner the worst, they'll fight harder for you. I thought if I said that, you'd step up, be more romantic, prove you really wanted me." I didn't interrupt. I just let her keep going. Her voice cracked. "I didn't think you'd actually pull away. I didn't think you'd stop loving me." I leaned forward, calm. "I didn't stop loving you, Pamela. I stopped acting like your husband after you told me you didn't want me in that role. There's a difference." She swallowed hard. "Is there any chance we can fix this?" I shook my head. "You gambled with our marriage. You tested me instead of talking to me, and you lost." She looked down at her hands, twisting the ring she still wore. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, she pushed back her chair and stood. "I'll finish moving out this week," she said quietly. "All right," I replied. She lingered a second, like she wanted me to stop her. I didn't. She walked to her room, closing the door softly this time. I stayed at the table, the same spot where she had once told me she only liked me. Except now, the weight was different. There was no sting, no anger, just clarity. The test was over, and so was the marriage. Pamela moved the rest of her things out by Saturday. Alicia came with her, carrying boxes down the stairs while avoiding my eyes. I held the door open, nothing more. When the last box was gone, the apartment felt wider, brighter, like someone had cut loose a weight. On Sunday, I took control of the space. The spare room became fully mine. Fresh coat of paint, new shelves, my desk in front of the window. I replaced the dull wine glasses she insisted were good enough with ones I actually liked. Small things, but every change reminded me that the place was mine. That week, Noah dragged me to a boxing class. "You've got all this focus now," he said, strapping on gloves. "Might as well use it." By the end of the session, sweat poured off me, but my head felt clearer than it had in months. On Wednesday, my phone buzzed. A message from Pamela. "Maybe when I've figured myself out, we can try again." I stared at it for a moment, then blocked her number. No reply, no drama. Just done. On Friday, I filed the divorce papers. There wasn't much to divide. No kids, no property battles, no drawn-out arguments, just paperwork and signatures. When the court date came, she showed up 15 minutes late and didn't look me in the eye. It was over in less than 10 minutes. I came home that afternoon and sat at the kitchen table. Except now, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. Pamela had wanted a husband's commitment while giving me a roommate's affection. She thought I'd fight harder when she pulled away. Instead, I believed her words and lived by them. That was the difference. The story ended not with shouting or slamming doors. She said she wasn't in love. I nodded. And in the end, that nod was the cleanest answer I ever gave her. Thank you for watching.